house at Homegrown Gardens, and we're going to talk about the right tools for pruning, and also show you how to sharpen your pruning tools, particularly your hand tools. And so here we go. First, there's always a good, better, and best. And this is a drop forged Coronas hand pruners that'll cut up to 1 inch material, depending on the softness or hardness of the wood. They're a good pair of pruners. They're a little bit heavy if you're going to do this kind of stuff all day. I started using this type when I was 12 years old, and for many years used this type, and they worked quite well, and they'll last you a lifetime if you know how to take care of them. We'll talk about that in a minute. Up from that, the next level is, I call it a Felco knockoff. The Corona makes a pruner out of aluminum body, replaceable blades and springs, and it's called a BP. It stands for Bypass Pruner 6250. And this is a great pair. We issue these to a lot of our crew members that do pruning, and sell a lot of these. What's nice about these is you can replace the parts. They can hold a really good edge for pruning, and they're light. So if you're pruning a lot, you're going to appreciate the lightness of that pruner. The next level up, the best, at least in my opinion, is the Felco number 2. Now Felco makes a big line of pruners. We carry the Felco number 2s, and my son does, who manages the nursery, and I've never worn a pair out, but I've lost a few pair over the years. Replaceable blades, springs, all the parts, and so keep that sharp. It works excellent, light, holds up very well. About twice the price of the Corona aluminum ones, but certainly worth it if you're a professional or doing lots of pruning or just want to make your pruning jobs that much easier. So now I'm going to talk about sharpening. People get confused about sharpening. I've seen people to actually ruin their blades with improper sharpening, so we're going to talk about that. I don't know if you want to try to get in closer. All right, to start with, when you're sharpening your pruners, remember there's only one edge you're going to sharpen, just like a pair of scissors. There's a bevel blade on this side, and the blade on the other side is flat, and so you don't sharpen on that side. That's a no-no. You just sharpen on the one side. This is a pair of Felco sharpening stone or tool, and they're about $30–40, and so you want to be careful not to lose that. You can keep that in your pocket and keep your blade honed throughout the day if you're pruning. And so the trick is, if you set this on a surface and just do your sharpening in that direction, and where it gets dullest is always at the tip. So you're basically just constantly getting that down to where it's just as sharp as you want it to be without getting a razor edge that's going to bend over. So you get that sharp on that one blade. Now if it peens over a little bit, I just do one pass like that flat, just to knock off any of the edge on that. And you get it to the point where you think it's sharp enough. This is called a counter blade on this side. You don't have to do anything there unless you've got some nicks or something you want to take out. So we'll get our test piece of paper and see if it cuts. And so if it's cutting paper like that, you know that it's going to cut the branches that you're going after. So the whole width of the blade, you want to cut that. You see it's a little bit dull down on the base there, so I could work more on that if I wanted to. So that's how you get those sharp. One of the things I also always do, you can take some 3-in-1 oil and just get it down inside the blades right there, work that in so they freely flow and move, and down inside the mechanism. The other thing I do, all us guys love WD-40. WD-40, baling wire, and duct tape, you can do anything, you can fix anything. So you spray it down at the end of the day. That keeps it from rusting up, hold them together. And also, if you could use it for a cleaning solution to get the buildup of the sap and things off, and you use a piece of steel wool like that and just kind of work that buildup that happens on the blade, clean that off. The WD-40 keeps it from rusting as it's being stored away. You clean all that off, and you can hang it up like that if you want. Keep the spring from wearing out, or just like that back in your pouch, and then you're ready for the next pruning job. It's just that simple. You can use other sharpening devices. Here we go. Just a flat file, very fine flat file will work the same way. And then Corona makes a bladed type sharpening device where you kind of scrape it along there. It does work. I don't appreciate it too much. It's a little more hard to use for people. You know, if you're doing it, you're pulling harder, you have a chance of slipping and cutting your hand on your sharp blade. So I prefer the Felco sharpening tool. And there are other sharpening tools. Sometimes I'll use this one. It's I keep by my desk, sharpen my knives, pocket knives, and pruners. I have a coarser side and a finer side, and that works too. It's just a little bit thicker, harder to get into that tight space. That's why the Felco pruner sharpener is a nicer way to go. So that's something you should have if you do a lot of pruning. Okay, so these pruners are good up to 1 inch material. So if you're out pruning your fruit trees or any kind of pruning, this is probably just about a 1/2 inch. This has been sitting around, it's getting kind of hard, but it cuts that pretty well, a little bit of pressure. But if you're getting into some larger material past 1 inch, you need to go move up to some loppers. You prune those, you sharpen those the same way, same type of 1-edged blade, and you get it sharp enough, and then you can use that for larger material. Also, you can reach in a little further and stand back and see what you're doing, but that's made for larger. This one is for up to 1.5 inches. They make larger ones as well. Now, if you're like me and you don't like to get on a ladder, and you're doing lots and lots of pruning, particularly your fruit trees, you might want to invest in a long reach pruner. This is by ARS, Japanese tool, very well made. And this one's a 7 foot. There are some that will reach further, and it also will cut up to 3/4 inch on your fruit trees. So you can stay on the ground, reach up, walk around the sides and look into the tree and do your pruning without having to get on a ladder. They're very, very nice, very, very efficient. And it's worth the price if you have more than a couple fruit trees to invest in something like this. I'll set this over here. Another tool still in the package here. I wasn't going to open that up. My working one is still at home, but this is long reach loppers. So again, you can cut up to 1.5 inch materials with that blade right here. You're reaching out into the tree, and you can cut those larger limbs off with that. These are a wonder if you're doing lots of pruning in an old orchard. So they get pricey, $189 for that. But I tell you, if you do a lot of pruning, well worth the investment on that tool. When I'm doing pruning on a fruit tree or something, I keep a little handsaw in my back pocket. I can pull it out, and I'm oftentimes getting in tight spaces. I can do my cutting anywhere from 1 inch up to a couple inches. And these are very sharp blades, and so if you're not careful, you will be drawing blood and very fast. So you gotta be careful with these, but they're very efficient. And if you're getting into big pruning, you might want a bigger saw or a small chainsaw or something to get in there. For most of us, this is all we need. That in your back pocket, your pruners, your hand bypass pruners in your pouch, your loppers by your side, and you can get a lot of pruning done very, very effectively and efficiently. We do sell most of this equipment at Homegrown Gardens, so come on out and pay us a visit. If you need some more advice, watch for our classes on pruning, and come on in on the Saturday, and if I'm here, ask me personally, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. Thanks a lot.